Well, we have Mike Johnson. Let's take a look at how Biden is doing here. We got Mike Johnson doing a retrospective on Biden. He says, I'm not, betraying a confidence here. This has now been reported. And he goes, just verify that he didn't remember his own executive order on natural gas just weeks after he had signed it. But that's not the most important thing that comes out of what Mike Johnson says. As he's talking about this, notice, and I'm going to play you the clip, but notice that Mike Johnson is saying, he's trying to get a meeting with Biden and his people are protecting him. And that's what New York Times and all these people are saying. How did they manage to pull this off? They were shielding Biden from everybody. And so he says, it was very difficult for me. He says, here I am, Speaker of the House, and I'm third in, in line or second in line or whatever to the president. It's just the president, the vice president, and then it's Mike Johnson. That should keep you up at night. But that's sellout. But anyway, but he said it was very hard for him to get a meeting. Finally, he gets a meeting, and we have this person, and the CIA is there. He just mentions that casually. Why is the CIA there? Because they are the government. They're the ones who are running. Who's running the Biden White House? The CIA, the same ones that run the Trump White House and all the other White Houses that are there.
Stand by it, and I say this without any personal animus at all. I mean, in some ways, I actually kind of feel sorry for Joe Biden. I mean, he's in the twilight years of his life. He is not, obviously, has not been in charge for some time. And I know this by personal observation, and now the whole world knows it. And it's been very, very concerning to me over the last, year and a half since I've had this position.
Can you tell us a story when you say personal observation? What kind
well,
of thing did you see?
It's public now because the Wall Street Journal got it and put it on the front page. But January a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I had been asked. I became Speaker in October 2023, and there were all sorts of big national security concerns and everything going on. And I started requesting a meeting with the president because I'm kind of old school. I'm a constitutional law guy. The Speaker of the House should be able to talk to the president, especially in times of great national interest and calamity. But they wouldn't let me meet with him, and his staff kept giving me excuses. This went on for like 8 or 9 weeks. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, he doesn't have time. What are you talking about? I'm second in line of the presidency. He has time. I need to talk to him. We had, I can't say the classified parts, but we had some big national concerns at the time that I was losing sleep over. Finally, I just went to the Hill Press Corps and I said, the president is not being allowed to meet with the Speaker. There's a problem. So they started putting pressure on him. Long story short, they finally relented. They invited me to the White House. I show up and I realize it's actually an ambush because it's not just me and the president. It's also Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem, the CIA director, everybody. And then, so I walked in the Oval and, I know what this is. They're going to hotbox the Speaker on Ukraine funding. That's what it was. This is probably third week of January. We sit down.
Before he caved on Ukraine.
And the whole conversation, and I'm going, we don't need to have this conversation. The president reaches over just like this. We're sitting right next to the fireplace in the Oval, and he grabs my arm and he says, the Speaker and I just need a couple minutes together. Would y'all just leave us alone? And I looked up on the faces of some of the staff standing around the wall, and they're like, oh, no, he did it. So he called it. He's the commander-in-chief. So everybody leaves, and he and I are standing awkwardly in the middle of the Oval Office right over the rug by that coffee table. And I said, Mr. President, thanks for the moments. This is very important. I got some big national security things I need to talk to you about that I've heard and I think you know, and what do we do? But first, real quickly, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? I cannot answer this from my constituents in Louisiana. Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas.
You realize the purpose of this war is for our LNG pipelines.
And he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order 3 weeks ago. And he goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. I said, Mr. President, respectfully, could I go out here and ask your secretary to print it out? We'll read it together. You definitely did that. And he goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. I said, no, you're not, sir. You paused it. I know. I have the export terminals in my state. I talked to those people this morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy, national security. It occurred to me, Barry, he was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
Yeah, right. Who's running the country? Who put the paper in front of him? I mean, CIA guy was there along with all the Democrat operatives, right? Yeah. And, the whole purpose of this, which didn't make any sense to Johnson, because, he's being told, we're running this war so that we can make sure we're supplying Europe with liquid natural gas and other things instead of the Russians, right? Same story that we see in Syria. It's got to be we're going to sell to them, not Russia or other people. And so the CIA got what it wanted out of him, didn't it? Remember, he was like, nope, no more money for Ukraine when he first gets in. And then, all right, money for Ukraine, but only if you do something about the border. And then he turned. And it's like, okay, forget the border. We'll just send money to Ukraine, that type of thing. And forget the people in Western North Carolina. That's one of the things as we look at this inauguration that is happening. Oh, we got to move it inside. And so the MAGA media is not that, well, is it because Trump's in danger or is it because of the weather? It's like, well, I don't know if Trump's in danger, but I do know who is in danger. I know it's really cold here. We're right here where these people in Western North Carolina got wiped out by the Hurricane Helene. And they get no help at all from the federal government. As a matter of fact, the federal government and the local government is kicking them in the teeth. And there's a situation right now where we got temperatures in the teens every night this week. These people don't have a safe place to live, and nobody is talking about it. It's not on Trump's radar. Nobody cares. Trump will move his inauguration indoors. Is he going to do anything to help the people in North Carolina? No. He said that he's going to go to California and look at the aftermath of the fires. Fine. What about North Carolina? What about the people that actually voted for you? Nothing. But let's talk about the CIA, because as I said before, I think the CIA is the real government. I think the CIA is an enemy of the American people. And there was a very interesting back and forth between John Kiriakou and another, maybe former, who knows, with his CIA people, a guy by the name of Bustamante. And I want you to hear what this Bustamante guy is saying in terms of John Kiriakou says, well, the government is supposed to answer to us, supposed to serve us. And, no, it's not. You're here to serve the government. And this guy, this CIA guy, this Bustamante guy, he makes the case that Americans are not important. What is important is continuity of government.
You believe that the government is there to support you? Is that what you said?
No, I believe the government should be responsive to me. It works for me. It shouldn't be able to target me.
That's where we're fundamentally opposed to.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because the government does not work for us. That is not what
I'm saying. It should.
It should not. The government is there to ensure the continuation of the American ideal. That's the purpose of the government. It is not there to serve you.
That doesn't even mean anything, though, the American ideal. What is that?
What is the American ideal?
Destroyed. If every American is killed, with the exception of the people in government, one congressperson
who save themselves,
one senator, and the president or the vice president,
the plan to let us all die and save themselves
continues. America is defined not by its people, by its government. That's what we went to war with the British about. We could have been colonists.
That guy's with the CIA. Hear that?
People. We could have been collections, but the right to sovereign independence is a government thing. The government exists to survive and serve the continuation of the government of the United States, not the American people. That's part of the ideological hogwash that we were all taught in elementary school civics that just isn't true.
And then they taught you the real truth
That's not
at the CIA.
What the government is. You swore an oath to protect and serve the Constitution of the United States. That is a document defining the government. A government of the people, by the people, for the people, but it's still a fucking government, not the people. The people of the United States, through the eyes of the government, FBI, CIA, NSA, the White House, the people of the United States are engines of economic development. We are there to create the GDP and the flow of...
We're the slaves of government.
...that the government can then use to enact national security policies or international policies that benefit the government. That's the cycle.
What was it that Jefferson said, that periodically the tree of liberty has to be watered with the blood of martyrs and patriots? Yeah, I'm ready to fight.
Yeah.
Fight for what?
My independence.
Not fight for your government?
No.
Where do you think you get your independence from?
It's not the government that gives me my independence.
1,000% it's the government that gives you your independence.
It's the government that infringes on my independence.
That's right. That's what we just defined.
Oh, my God, yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So this Bustamante guy, he lays out how, we can start a nuclear war and you can all die. And it doesn't matter if Americans exist or not. We got to have the government exist. And you're there to make sure the government continues. And you're there to work and to provide stuff for the government. And then he says, independence from what? Oh, it's independence from the government, says John Kiriakou. And he goes, folks, that's the mindset of these people. And again, you can go back and you can look at the book, Raven Rock. The subtitle of it was The Plan to Let All of Us Die and to Save Themselves. That's what he's talking about there. That was the situation at the beginning of the Cold War. That was the situation when they created this abstraction called national security that overrides everything, that makes slaves out of us. The God of national security. Everything will be sacrificed on the altar of national security. And you're nothing to these people. They will protect themselves in their underground bunkers while we get nuclear weapons rained down on us as a consequence of their actions and their provocations. That's what this is really about. And it's just interesting and refreshing, I guess, in a sense, to hear somebody finally say the quiet part out loud that we know. But you'll see books like Raven Rock, and it's presented in that book as, well, yeah, this is the Cold War mindset. Isn't it nice that the CIA isn't like that anymore? Or you'll have books about DARPA, and it's like, yeah, this plan was really dark, but, that was 60 years ago. Oh, it's not like that now. No, it's much, much worse. You're just cattle to them. You're here to serve them. That's what the CIA says. You're there to work for them. You don't matter. Only their government matters. Well, John Kiriakou, I've interviewed him many times, and he was the only one that went to jail for the lies and the deaths of the Iraq War. We were lied into the Iraq War. Trump said we were lied into the Iraq War. He was right about that. And then what did he do when he became president? He turned around and he promoted the person who did the torture, who sold the lies. He made Gina Haspel the head of the CIA. And John Kiriakou, who exposed the lies, went to jail. And Trump would not pardon him. Yeah. Instead, Rudy Giuliani wants $1 million to talk to Trump about a pardon. That's what the Trump government is. That's what our government is. That's what the CIA is. The CIA is our government.
Hello, it's me, Volodymyr Zelensky. I'm so tired of wearing these same t-shirts everywhere for years. You'd think with all the billions I've skimmed off America, I could dress better. And I could, if only David Knight would send me one of his beautiful gray MacGuffin hoodies or a new black t-shirt with the MacGuffin logo in blue. But he told me to get lost. Maybe one of you American suckers can buy me some at thedavidknightshow.com. And David is giving a 10% discount to listeners from now until 2025. At that price, you should be able to buy me several hundred. Those amazing sand-colored microphone hoodies are so beautiful. I'd wear something other than green military cosplay to my various galas and social events. If you want to save on shipping, just put it in the next package of bombs and missiles coming from the USA.